Welcome to the Grace Story Podcast, where inspiring stories are brought to life. This podcast is made possible by Grace College and Seminary, located on the shores of Winona Lake in the great state of Indiana. I'm your host, Dr. Drew Flam. This is the Grace Story Podcast. Today in the studio, we have three guests, which I'm pretty excited about. Dr. Fred Wintorf, Jody Claypool, and Pavle Popovich. Did I get that right, Pavle? Close enough? All right, good. Well, Dr. Fred Wintorf over here is chair of the Department of Engineering and assistant professor of engineering. And prior to coming to serve at Grace, he was principal research engineer at Zimmer Biomet. We're also joined by Jody Claypool. Jody is principal consultant and founder of JC Innovations, LLC, and the driving force behind Helping Hands, which we're going to talk more about today. Helping Hands is a program that was formed to assist families in northern Indiana with the challenges related to costs involved for prosthetic devices for children. Jody has a background in engineering, having worked in the industry since 2001. And our third esteemed member of the panel today is Pavle Popovich. He's a senior engineering student that has worked with Helping Hands the last 2 summers. Pavle is from Serbia and is also a standout on the men's tennis team here at Grace College. Welcome to all three of you. Thanks for being here.
Fantastic.
I'm
glad to be here.
I must admit I'm feeling a little anxious with so much brain power in the room. I can barely put together my kids' Lego sets. So you guys hopefully can maybe teach me a thing or two. So I appreciate you being here. Dr. Wintorf, I'm going to start with you just to give a little bit of broad overview of the engineering department at Grace. So tell us a little bit about how you got to Grace and why you decided to Grace and sort of what your driving passion is for the engineering program at Grace.
That's a broad question there. And yeah, I can talk for an hour on this subject, but
how about 5 minutes or less? Is that
okay? I can try to cut it down there a little bit, but so came into the area to work at Zimmer Biomet to try to use my engineering skills to make people's lives better. Directly making some product, had a great time there, but really felt like there was something missing, some other things to do, and it kind of ran into Bill at church, actually. And so Bill Cadup, president of Grace, goes to Winona Lake Grace Brethren, where I go to church, and just had a conversation about what engineering was doing at Grace and stuff like that. And we had a discussion a week later, and then year after that, I was hired. So it was awesome. It's a great thing, and I have just been having a ball. So this is my third fall teaching. Students like Pavle has just, really, really, really been fun. And the idea to use my skills to help them sharpen their skills that God has already given them, and then also give them some direction for service. So the idea of the skills that God gave you are a gift, and you need to use that to make other people's lives better. And the story we're going to talk about today is awesome. It was it's fun to, one of the things I really like about working at Grace is seeing God work and just bringing kind of random things together. It's like Jody and I have worked together before at Zimmer Biomet, and just kind of randomly kind of came together and talked about some options, and this was great. But the idea that the program is built on is the idea to sharpen people's swords on the mental side of things. So God have given you gifts to be able to do math, which you really don't use for any other things than engineering. It's not a really great skill to be able to do an integral, but the idea that you can actually do that to make people's lives better, making something like this for somebody that they're going to use to pick up markers, play with toys, that's awesome.
Yes.
And I think this was a great opportunity that can only come from God. I did not do this. This was more of Jody's work, and I just found him. And the idea where we get to found some really cool students that are able to do this. But the idea of the engineering program is to show them that how they can use the skills that God gave them to make the world a better place. So kind of a little sidelight. I have always struggled with being an engineer and a Christian. Like my family is social workers or other things like that, and I go, I'm not doing anything to help God's kingdom. And that's the idea of really what I want to help. So I struggled for a while with that. I would love to help other engineers know that this is still a gift from God, and there's things that you can do to make the world a better place. So that's kind of lots of things in there about the program, but I will stop talking now.
No, and it's one of those things where well, the stuff you work on at Zimmer Biomet, right? Prosthetics or implants, like you may never get to meet the patient that receives that, but it is truly changing their lives. And I love that motto you have. That's been your motto personally, to use the skills God's given you, the brain God's given you to help others. And I think that's a pretty biblical calling. So thank you. It's been really neat to see you really build up the program. And I think one of the big skill sets you bring is represented in this room, right? Is like, you know, people in the industry, students, and you can just bring it all together, bring your own skills to the table and make a difference. So it's really neat. I want to throw it over to Jody, since kind of this helping hands thing is his brainchild. So Jody, you've been in the industry a long time. I'd like to hear a little bit of why you started JC Innovations, and then take it a step further and tell us a little bit of how or why you started Helping Hands.
Sure. No, I appreciate that. And so JC Innovations was a choice that I made during a transition phase. Like Fred said, we both have had a ton of fun working at Zimmer Biomet. And I had to make the decision whether or not I was going to continue the fun on my own or move to another orthopedic company. And I rolled the dice and said, you know, it's a pretty good town. Let me see if I can do it on my own. And I've been extremely blessed living in Warsaw, just with how many servants there are in town and how many people come to the table with that heart to support each other in all aspects of life. It doesn't matter if you're talking to fantastic students like Pavle who want to come and do something great, put their talents to use helping people in a real tangible way, or if you're talking about, neighbors or businesses in the area that are just looking to help everybody succeed. So I've been very blessed living in this town, in this area, and working with Grace. Helping Hands, actually, I can't claim it's my brainchild. I mean, it's definitely an invitation to everybody who wants to come bring their best selves to the table, and join in the fun and participate in a real valuable way in all aspects. Whether you're designing something or you're finding recipients and bringing them to us to help. But I didn't come up with the idea. The idea's been around for a long time. And this is totally a God thing, right? It was put in front of me during a casual conversation at a Optimist Club meeting. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Optimist Club, but
Wednesday mornings around here, right?
That's right. That's the place to be, Wednesday mornings. So anybody listening that wants to check us out, we've got I think it's like the 6th or 7th largest in the world. It's insane. Yeah, it's a great group. I was sitting at a table and I was talking to another Zimmer alum named Mike Hawkins, and he was talking about this type of activity that he had done for a friend of his who was his daughter with special needs, his friend's daughter with special needs, and she had a limb difference. And at that time, he was using more of his craft and art to make it. And as we were discussing this, I was like, well, we've got technology that's really become more commonplace in the engineering world that a lot of people are latching onto, which is the 3D printing technology. Maybe we could help somebody. And so it just kicked off this whole process of, at first it was just helps one person. And so we pitched it to the club and we presented it to them, and we had 2 people come up to us before we even got to the table. And so we're like, okay, well, let's see if we can help those people. And then talking to Fred, I was like, well, we can do more, but I can help them, but I think we can do more. And as I was talking to Fred, it was like, okay, well, how would this look if we brought in students and talent that's developing and kind of harness that journey to help the students mature their engineering skills while also benefiting recipients in the area. And we tried it, and it worked great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it worked really, 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 really well, and I was really happy with it. And I was like, well, maybe we can do more, right? So it was just like kind of baby stepping, and it was the entire time it was God kind of saying, well, do this, and do it in earnest, do it with your best skills and the best you can. And if you do it, the best you can, then I'll give you a little bit more. it was just having faith. Okay, I did that. What else do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And so we just kind of continued that journey together, and it's resulted in Helping Hands.
Well, I think there's a verse that says, whatever your hands find to do it with all your heart. And whatever your engineering skills find to do it with all your heart. I love that. All right, so a third person of the trifecta here, Pavle. I'd love to back up with you just a little bit to tell us first how you got to Grace, because you're from Serbia, and when we mean Serbia, we don't mean like Serbia, Indiana. We mean like other side of the world, Serbia. So tell us a little bit about getting to Grace, and then your deciding to be an engineer in the first place.
Well, that is a type of question that I get asked most of the times when somebody meets me, and the story is that I've got recruited in Tennessee State for playing tennis, and things haven't worked out well there. They were about to close the program, so I was trying to find another school that has an engineering program because I enrolled into engineering program there as well. And I started looking at the tennis network to find schools in NAA that have engineering. And Coach Lewis was actually the person who I spoke, and I decided I want to come to Grace because I was convinced that it will not be a mistake. And the reason why I chose engineering is because as a little kid, I thought I have a mindset of being technical, paying attention to the details, loving to explore the things, how they work, and get them apart, get them together, and that constant curiosity for how things around us work. So I've decided to, and math was always something that I enjoyed doing, so I just wanted to take a chance, and that's how I ended up here.
So you could actually put the Lego sets together when you were a kid, unlike me. So, okay,
Hopefully.
that makes sense. I think I made the right choice not going into engineering then. So I love that at Grace, engineering is not just a theoretical thing, but it's a practical thing where you're trying to get hands-on experience. So let me start, Dr. Wintorf, with you and say, a project comes along early on into your career with Jody to do this Helping Hands thing. How did you go from a first conversation with Jody? What was the next steps to actually get this rolling and organized?
I mean, Jody and I usually just go pretty fast. We're just going, let's do it. And I mean, we got some students this summer. Let's go and do it. Yeah, and figuring out that we've worked enough together and we'll get it done. It's again, I don't know if it's the best way to do it, but that's kind of, I don't remember. I remember talking about it, get really excited about opportunities and saying, yeah, we'll hire some people this summer and we'll just get it done. And I don't remember much more than that. Do you remember more than that?
No, that's pretty much how it went. I said, hey, what do you think? And you said, yeah. So, okay, well, let's do it. And, we talked to some students and said, hey, what do you guys think about this? Actually, it was the first round was kind of a pitch to the students saying, hey, we've got this opportunity.
Yeah.
The opportunity is representative of a real, actual. In this case, was a little girl. She's adorable, and it was like, hey, you could really help her. Would you be interested in doing that? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. So it was like, okay, well, what do we have to do? I said, okay, well, let's make some parts.
So you had a little girl to help, Zoe, right?
Zoe, yeah.
Yeah. And you had brain power. You needed to bring in some students to, not only is it a great learning experience for them, but it's also starting to be some hands and feet to get the work done. So, Pavle, what did you do that first summer to begin the process with Zoe?
Well, the engineering process is unique because there are certain steps that you need to take when you're considering any type of project, and there are interesting and boring parts of the project, And the boring, every engineer will tell you that documentation is, for example, the most boring part of engineering. But working with Zoe, the project was to design and work on modeling the prosthetic. And that was something that is not on the boring side. It was very, very interesting to do and work on. But there was a constant anxiety when you work on these things. And I always repeat that: am I good enough? Are my ideas good enough? Is there any path that I can take to make this more valuable for someone like Zoe? Because some activities that we take for granted in every single day can mean a lot sometimes, especially for a young being as Zoe. So it was I was very, very honored to be part of it. And I also have to mention that there was another girl that was working on it as well. His name is Natalie Bontrager, and due to medical concerns, she is not currently in school. So I just want to take this opportunity to say hi to her.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to acknowledge everything she's done on the project as well. So yes, I'm very blessed to be a part of it, and that Zoe's project was a part of my experience, because academia has a specific, let's say, path of how teaches you and prepares you for the future. But there's a gap between, let's say, theory, like you said, and the practical side of it. And engineering is definitely on the practical side. And you can have an engineering student who graduates and then misses a lot of practical stuff. Like when something is designed, how are you going to fit this together? Well, I never really talked about it. I learned so many things, and I can calculate and analyze something, but I have still a lot of things to learn. So like everything in life, engineering processes is a constant learning where you don't assume that you know things, but you just accept that there's always new things to learn, and you always cherish the abilities and gifts that God's given to you. And yes, that's
I don't know what classes he's taken this semester, but I think he needs an A. That's just my opinion.
I think he needs to work a little harder.
Okay, that's a pretty good answer.
Never good enough.
But I did want to point on a little bit one of the other benefits of not only helping Zoe in this specific project, but also the thing of bringing Jody in here, that somebody that's actually done this for a living, is really helping the engineers with the design process. So they actually makes it look like industry. They're not kind of doing stuff in their garage. They actually have some directions. That was a really nice part of having Jody involved with this, is not only are they really helping some other person, but they're helping themselves as well, because they're learning the process that will help them once they get to industry to be able to hit the ground running, being ready to go. So that was another really big part of having Jody involved with this, is that assistance in having understanding how this translates, how you would do this in industry, learning that boring parts of it. Some of it is boring, but trying to figure out and show them why you do this. It's not just check the boxes. Actually, this is why you do it, because it makes the design better. And those kind of things is a great thing of having Jody here to really help out our students.
That's awesome. Well, you have a prototype or something with us. So tell us what you have, and try to explain a little bit to us non-engineering folks.
I might pass this to Pavle. Well, might pass to Pavle a little bit. But this is, and again, I would totally agree, this is really, a lot of it was Pavle and Natalie's brainchild. I will not take any credit for it at all, other than I will hold it. And I can hopefully describe it. That's about it. But the cool thing is, so this is actually a very the colors are slightly different than what Zoe has, but it's pretty much the exact same thing that we gave to Zoe at the end. And yeah, that's the idea. And so what we did was taking, the students did, I did nothing again, is the idea of taking a general model from the internet. So Thingiverse has a lot of different models. And what they did then was apply this, size this for Zoe, and then do some actually mechanical changes. So like the idea, and probably can correct me, but this tensioning device, which is the big cool device, was actually a huge part of Natalie did that. That was I think a big thing that changed Zoe's life, was really ability to tension that. Because if you can kind of see this, and I don't know if this is going to work or not on the internet, but the idea as you flex your wrist, the idea that your fingers grip. And the idea is she can grip onto different things or different size things by changing this grip here.
I see. So like when she moves her wrist, the fingers close.
Yes, and this change here allows them to figure out how much they're actually going to close.
Okay.
So she can grip onto different things, like it's a marker versus for her doll. She can change this amount she's going to grip, which is a big deal. She wasn't able to do that previously.
Okay, so she can also like change with her. She can change the tension, I guess you would say, to be able to, whether it's a larger object or a smaller object.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was to me I mean, my understanding, Natalie did most of that, and that was awesome. Again, and then Pavle with her kind of took it to the finish line. But yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Tell us a little bit more about it, Pavle. Like finger. I mean, just what do you have there?
Well, as Dr. Weintorf already described, the hand is moved by the wrist.
Yeah.
And you can. So Natalie worked on this piece that allows you to change the tension for the hand, so that Zoe can make grabbing different things more comfortable when she plays with the toys, or when she wants. She also expressed. She once said that she likes to help mom in the kitchen as well. So if she wants to grab different things, or she needs a stronger grip, then she puts tension. She puts more tension, and Natalie improved this rail where you can slide it without a significant amount of effort. And the previous version did not function very well, and it would fall off. And I think that after all that process and designing and changing things and trying 3D printing and failing, and after a couple of successes, when we saw Zoe grabs things with a smile, that was very rewarding. And it was a beautiful moment where all that anxiety that you had and all that worry, am I good enough, finally paid off. And not only did I learn through this process about the modeling, about making things happen in real life, but I also contributed for this a little bit. And that's the first step of, I guess, changing the world and making the world a better place.
That's awesome. And it's really neat just to hear that theme, and then it works itself out in a very practical story.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound cliche, but it is very rewarding. It just sounds cliche, but it is very valuable for me as a person.
Yeah. No, I can only imagine what it was like to spend all that time and energy, and then confidently hope that it's going to work itself out in real life, and it does.
And also one more thing that I didn't mention, I'm sorry, is that the palm was also reiterated and changed so that it has a better grip for different things. Because
show that kind of up to the where's the palm at? Okay.
So the thumb, not the palm.
Thumb. Okay.
I'm sorry, the palm, the thumb.
Okay.
So the way that the thumb was rotated, and I don't know if camera can see.
Yeah, you're good.
Did not also have a natural look, and the angle of the thumb was changed so that more objects can be, and also the size. It wasn't really proportional to the other parts of the hand.
Okay.
So the angle was changed. It was weird looking, and it was very big, and so that was one of the changes that was made that summer.
So Jody, you're kind of you get this thing kicked off, right? You're the JC Innovations. You're kind of the innovator of getting this thing moving. What was it like for you to, come alongside the students and see this go from, something you've been working on up here to Zoe playing with something on the floor with her toys?
Yeah, I think Pavle described it very, very well. So that the journey of design, for people who aren't familiar with it, might think I have an idea, and then you have the thing. That's not ever how it goes.
That's how it works on Shark Tank when I watch. But
right. So the idea of structuring a design process and joining and observing the journey of the students while they're going through coming up with the ideas, maturing the ideas, and then bridging the gap between that theoretical that Pavle was talking about and the practical, real application. That's a unique and valuable experience for the students. It's a unique and valuable experience for me to observe. I know just through years of experience in industry that, and coming and observing new students and new employees who come from other locations, a lot of times there's a gap. A lot of times there's a gap between the theoretical and the real. And that gap manifests in a bunch of weird ways. One, people will come with ideas and then they just, they get hit with that anxiety and they're not used to the anxiety. And they crumble under that stress because they struggle with all that internal turmoil of, what did I do wrong and why isn't this first idea the best idea? As well as they're not truly invested in the outcome because they never had an opportunity to bridge the gap between the theoretical and the real product. Watching these guys go through that iterative process, start with an idea, realize, oh my gosh, after working with Zoe and having her try it, I need to tweak this and this and this, and then slowly watch it mature into something fantastic. And then when she finally gets it and she's got that big smile on her face, watching their smiles, I was like, yeah, they got it. They got it. And then, and not only that, they did it in a way that they could take those same skills that they just employed here at Grace and go down the road to a Zimmer, to a DePuy, and they're going to be able to kind of plug right in. So they've got a real experience to rely on and a story to tell when they go into those businesses or they go choose a career that they can say to themselves, am I going to get that visceral, intangible value from this career along with all the other stuff that comes with it, right? It's the thing that a lot of people don't consider when they go into a career. Am I really going to get that? Am I going to get that enjoyment, that satisfaction, that feeling that I'm actually doing something good?
Making a difference, yeah.
And Pavle's got it. I couldn't be happier. It's turned into something that I'm really, really happy and blessed, and I think God's done something really terrific here.
What's neat to see is obviously it impacted Zoe's life, right? But it impacted everybody else's life that was a part of it, and that is neat to see as well. Pavle, I want to ask you, you talked about having an engineering mind, being good at math, coming to Grace, kind of tennis first being the reason to get you here. You're leaving Grace by the end of this year, right? Senior. And hopefully if I told Dr. Wintorf you needed an A, so I don't know if that
might help.
When you leave Grace, having gone through this process, what has changed about what you think engineering, from what you thought engineering was to now what you think engineering is?
Well, that is a very good question, because when you come to engineering program as a freshman, you have that mind, probably what would be referred to as arrogant mindset, that you're going to be somebody who knows everything, who will just be able to solve almost any problem that exists there in the world, which is, there's some good things in that. But and then going through so much math and everything in the beginning, and you see that everything can be calculated, solved easily. And then as you step into your junior and senior year, you realize that those courses that are still introductory, upperclassmen courses, have so much detail and have so much variables that play into how things work around us, that sometimes it's very hard to tell, and that you have to develop many different tools to come to an answer, because they're just like in life, so many variables that it's very hard to tell if you're right sometimes. And with that freshman mindset, that you're gonna be somebody who knows everything, and now coming to a senior year where you realize that there is so much more to learn. And it's a humbling experience that all engineers also tend to be also, I guess, a little bit more arrogant because they have the right answer, right? But it's for somebody who pays attention, it's a humbling experience that there's so much more things to learn, and that there's always something that can be better, modeled, created, and that it's just a process like any other thing in life, just a constant improving, and hopefully on that path you're becoming a better human being, and that you can be better for yourself and your community. So that's how I see the change from the very beginning to now. And one more thing to add is that I really like how the United States treat school and practical work, internships, and those things, because it forces you to get more mature professionally than, let's say, back home, where people have more comfort during the break between the school years. So what I'm taking from here, one of the most valuable things, other than everything that I've experienced here, is that initiative that I have, that even when I have, for example, a winter break right now, I can use that time to be productive in some other things, in trying to become a better human again, and be better for my community.
Yeah. Well, and it's the Helping Hands project is a perfect example, right? That was a summer project. You weren't in classes. You were doing that over your summer break to really learn and apply all that stuff you had learned throughout the year. Dr. Wintorf, when you go ahead. I
had another question just for Pavle, if that's
okay. Yeah. I just taking over my spot here as the interviewer.
Sorry.
Go for it.
There you go. No. But yeah, I was kind of curious because the idea of being an engineer, you can be very perfectionist. That is kind of where Pavle plays. But the idea of having eventually have to say this is good enough to go to somebody and then actually see that it works. I'm really interested to see, again, because that was really your first process of actually making something real, was that summer. So how did that change you? Because before that, you'd done everything, was on the computer, do other things like that. How did that physically change you?
A very good question, and I Dr. Weintorf knows me really well, and from the athletic side, I have that arrogance that you need to be competitive, to be rough with your opponents, to not just let them win. But that's not how I see life. Most of the time, leave that for sports. And in this experience, since it was also my first process, it's just impossible that I can make something that I can regard as perfect. And yeah, nothing can be perfect. It was a very humbling experience where I also started seeing effort in other people's work, and I started appreciating time and effort of pretty much any field or anyone that is trying to make something better, because it's hard, and sometimes it's very exhausting, especially when you care. And in this project, it was very hard because engineering is also a field. I mean, other fields probably as well, but it's always that question: am I good enough? Is this good enough? And I'm repeating myself, but it was a humbling experience where I also learned how to use that anxiety to motivate me to make a better product and learn faster, and be able to make a better product in the end.
Well, Pavle, I can say, as somebody who is meeting you for the first time, not only am I thoroughly impressed by the work you have done, but even at the beginning of this conversation, the first thing you did was ensure that your coworker on this project, Natalie, was recognized. And that says a lot about the kind of person you've become, not just the kind of engineer that you are. Dr. Wintorf, you brought the right guy to the table, but tell us, This is your chance to sell the engineering program. So the prospective student that might hear this, or the parent who might hear this and say, maybe my kid could go to Grace for engineering. Give us just some few bullet points about how you would express how this process and this project exemplifies the engineering program at Grace as it is now.
Yeah, I guess it's a great model. One is kind of another model we kind of use is engineer to serve, is the idea of what I want Grace engineering to be about. The idea that you're going to use the skills that you sharpen here to make the world a better place. Two is it's going to be industry relevant. So the idea that we really want to not teach you just the theoretical, but we want to teach you how to actually use those properly in the industry so you actually can hit the ground running is a big part of it. And then the idea to pull in experts that really can do that. We are beyond academics. So anybody that's been in front of Pavle has had at least 10 years of industry experience. So those are the main things. And if you look at this project, that's the same thing too. Jody and I have worked a lot together in industry and bringing that skill set to this project. So those are the main three things I think I would love people to think of about the engineering program, and I think the big strengths are also demonstrated in this project.
Yeah. And you couldn't drop an engineering program in a better location. I mean, this town just crawling with good people and good engineers, which is just awesome. Jody, what's next? So, what's Helping Hands hoping to do next? What projects do you foresee in the future?
Yeah, so it's going to be all driven by what God has in store. We're trying to do the best we can with what we've been given so far with the recipients we have, with the different organizations we're working with, and with the fantastic volunteers in the area. Anybody who's interested, come to the table with a servant's heart and with your best self. We're always happy to plug anybody in who wants to come to the table. And if you know somebody that has a need, the more people we are aware of, the more people we can help. So I would say what's next for Helping Hands, just to help as many people as possible and to watch the community that's being built around it grow. Invite more people in and just see smiles and fantastic students have the opportunity to do something fantastic.
Jody, if somebody wanted to find out more about Helping Hands or about you and the work that you do at JC Innovations, how could they find you?
Sure, yeah. Check out my website. Well, you can go to Grace because Grace has a link to my website, or you can go directly to my website, which is jc-innovations.com. And it's got my information in there. It's got some summaries on Helping Hands. There's a Helping Hands page, so click on that, and you'll get a little summary, and you'll be able to see some of these fantastic students at work. And don't hesitate to reach out. We love to hear from people.
Good. And Dr. Wintorf, same thing. What's the best way to get in connection with you and the engineering program at Grace? What's the best way to contact you about hiring Pavle here in a few months?
Yeah, I am very interested in that. Probably my cell phone's not appropriate on that one. But again, the Grace website's probably the best place to do it. If you want, my email address is wintorfa@grace.edu. Again, I'd love to hear about you of ways that we could serve the community. I love to look for other things. It was awesome to find Jody, and we plan on doing that. Summer's coming future is working together doing that. But again, I would love to have any other examples of where we can use our engineering skills to help people's lives but make them better. And so, yeah, I'm very interested in that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, please reach out.
Any last words? Anybody have anything they're itching to share? I don't want to leave anybody out.
Thank you for inviting me to come on this episode, and it was great to see you guys again.
No, thank you so much, Jody. Thank you, Pavle.
Thank you for inviting us, and I just want to mention it from all these compliments. I don't want people to have higher expectations of me.
And thank you, Dr. Wintorf,
for
participating as well. And thanks all of you for listening to the Grace Story podcast. Music was written and produced today by Dr. Wally Brath, Assistant Professor of Worship Arts at Grace College. And thanks to our co-producers, Andrew Palladino and Rick Neer. And if you can do us a huge favor and rate and comment this podcast wherever you retrieved it from, we would be so grateful. Until next time, live your best grace story today.